And interesting fun fact, the heart is considered the little brain. That's newer research. And the heart actually has the capability for memories and learning. So there's been some proven fact around that. And I can provide information about that. Dr. Andrew Amore was a pioneer in heart research, and he's the one that found out that it actually has its own memories and can sense and feel information. So it's pretty powerful stuff.
Wow.
So
Welcome to the I Learn, Therefore I Can podcast, an iRise performance consulting production where we explore the dynamic world of performance through a learning and development lens with a focus on achieving excellence. I'm your host, Lonney Gregory, and I'm inspired by those of you that wish to be better at what you've been asked to do.
Welcome to another enriching episode of I Learn, Therefore I Can, where we explore the journeys and insights of exceptional individuals who have transformed their lives and careers through continuous learning and development. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Marc Stoecker, a seasoned training professional with over 20 years of experience in designing, developing, and facilitating a wide range of soft skills and technical content across various industries, including government, associations, and commercial sectors. Marc's impressive career includes working with prestigious companies such as Lockheed Martin, Mantech, and C2 Technologies. He holds a master's in instructional design and is a certified professional coactive coach, ICF accredited coach, and positive intelligence coach. Through his company, Prism of Purpose Coaching and Training, LLC, Marc provides career, creativity, and mental fitness coaching solutions, designing and facilitating custom workshops tailored to client needs. Marc thrives in creative environments, creating scenario-based e-learning and live workshops, leveraging multimedia skills, and leading teams towards common goals through project management. His expertise in instructional design and facilitation makes him a sought-after trainer and communicator who embraces various design methods and emerging technologies. As a certified life coach through the Coactive Training Institute and International Coaching Federation, Marc helps clients embrace their uniqueness, realize their potential, and take action through greater self-awareness and self-acceptance. He is dedicated to fostering caring human connections through conscious, soulful listening and helping people discover their creative genius through innovative ideas. Marc's services encompass career development coaching, corporate training, interview preparation, life coaching, public speaking, training, resume writing, video production, and resume review. As the owner and chief creative officer of Prism of Purpose Coaching and Training LLC, he has been providing independent training, development, facilitation, and coaching services since November 2020. Additionally, Marc is an active board member of the Chesapeake Bay Organizational Network, co-leading the coaching community of practice, leading the partnership committee, and providing technical advice and assistance for live Zoom content workshops. He also created and facilitates the bi-weekly mastermind group Think Bigger Fridays, and leads 7-week cohort programs in positive intelligence, combining live sessions with video and app work for mental fitness. Learn more about Marc and his work at Prism of Purpose Coaching and Training, LLC, and connect with him on LinkedIn. Join us as we delve into Marc's journey, exploring his passion for helping individuals and organizations achieve their full potential through innovative training and coaching solutions.
Friends, welcome to another episode of I Learn, Therefore I Can. Really excited about this particular conversation. You heard the introduction. The gentleman we're about to talk with is incredible. Like, what I mean by incredible is just the feeling that I had after meeting him. Marc is interesting, to say the least. And I think you're going to have fun. I know I'm going to have fun. I'm certainly going to learn more about what Marc does and how he does it. The one thing I haven't figured out totally yet is exactly how to pronounce his last name. Marc, go ahead and say that for me real quick.
Okay, Lonney. Stoecker. There's a lot of people.
Stoecker.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, in my mind, I'm going Stoecker.
It's
I bet
okay.
a lot of people
Well,
do that.
a lot of people have. My son has inherited that gift, and he's running with it. So
Very good. Well, Marc, man, thanks so much for joining us, for joining me on this call. Really appreciate you taking the time to share with us what it is that you do, why you do it, and how you do it, those types of things. Like I said, friends, Marc and I met at the Chesapeake Organizational Development Network Conference several Saturdays ago. And I signed up for Marc's session. And as soon as that thing was over, I was like, dude, we got to talk. I need to understand more about what you do, how you do it, and we need to share this with folks who just don't know. And so we started our conversation, and we agreed to do this show. So friends, he's a new friend, and I'm going to call him friend because I think we are going to develop a relationship and a friendship longer term. So Mark, thanks so much for joining the show. Really appreciate you, man. How you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks, Lonney. Yeah, it's been kind of interesting day. It's been busy, but it's always a day of balance as long as you have that intention, I think. So
Yeah, how about that? See how he starts friends like right away, right? He goes into that thing. It's really incredible. Mark, before we get into the heart of what you do, share with us, please, something that we just couldn't understand from reading your LinkedIn profile or a resume or any publication that you have out there and that you're willing to share. What is it that we can know about you that's just not obvious?
I appreciate that question. I have a love for the arts, particularly like ballroom and Latin dancing. That's one way where I decompress after a long day of work, or we when I have a weekend free, I'll go and do that with friends.
Ballroom and Latin dancing. All right,
Yes.
friends, take a look at that face and tell me that's what you just never know. Wow, that's impressive. How did you get into that?
Well, when I was younger in my 20s, just last week, no, I'm kidding. Um, I was invited to go to take a 4-week class on with at a place and at a ballroom studio, that is, excuse me. And I went with two friends. We did a couple different dances. They dropped out. One actually went and did ice ice skating, and I ended up doing continuing with it, ballroom dancing. We just wanted to do something other than the bar scene, and I kept with it. I did Lindy Hop swing dancing when it was popular in the 90s, and then eventually evolved into focusing on Latin dancing particularly. So,
So you've been doing this since the 90s.
yeah, the late 90s, yeah. Well,
So
some form
you're
of
like
dancing, often.
America's Got Talent type of guy, right?
Well, I appreciate that, but it's not like I mean, it's cumulative, meaning that it wasn't like every single year. Yeah. I
Okay.
recycle what I know. Sometimes you need to do that.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. In my mind,
So.
I'm looking at you in the tux, with the pretty lady in front of you, and you're twirling all around the floor. You wouldn't happen to have any videos, would you?
Um, it's possible. Somewhere
Sounded
they're out there somewhere in the ether, Lonnie.
Gotcha. It sounded pretty reluctant, though, friends. I don't think we're going to get our hands on those. So
Maybe.
between ballroom dancing and Latin dancing, like salsa, merengue, cha cha, those things, what's your favorite? What do you like to do most?
Um, so when I'm not doing the dancing, I like to spend time with family and, take day trips, go on travels, try new foods. I'm a bit of a foodie. And I like uh, helping others. That's kind of my big thing is I like being of service to people, whether it's personally or professionally. I get a lot of satisfaction or connecting people. I'm a big connector. I like connecting people with resources or other people and seeing the synergy that comes from that. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's obvious. I could tell that right away when we met. Just one other thing, Mark, that I did notice during your session at the conference, which we're going to talk about. Um, a lot of your stories or analogies, opportunities for explanations always included your son. It's like I got this real sense that you and your son are close, you're tight, you talk a lot. I even think you might even experiment on him or something. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with your son, because I recall it stood out for me.
yeah, I incorporated his cat, as you might have remembered in the presentation. And we have a close relationship. It's just him and I at our home, and we do different things together, mainly around TV shows and hiking and day trips and stuff like that. He's a great kid. Not so much a kid, 15-year-old. So as close as a father and a teenager can be. I think that we have a decent relationship. He's one of the most important things in my life, if not the most important. So.
About that. I knew it. I knew it was special because used him right in your presentation. So you're a single dad too.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Well, bless you, man. Right. I know that's tough. Bunch of single mothers out there. They hold it down. They keep it together. They're raising strong children. Single dads too. You guys are out there too. So my hat's off to you for doing
Thank
that.
you.
Good stuff. Now, of course, that just blew my segue, but I thought it was important to hear that because I did recognize stories about your son and the cat and how you wove them into the description of your program. So, Mark, the title of this episode is I've Got Three Brains. How many do you have? And that's because the session that I attended with you was about this three brain concept. So, if you can just take us from somewhere, the beginning, the middle, the end, about that concept, that particular theory, how you got into it, and how you're currently using it in your practice. So let's start with how you got into it.
Sure. So I knew that I wanted to speak at the CBODN conference that we met at, and I was trying to find something different. Now, the concept of the three brains is actually not a new concept; it's been around for a long time. But I tried to use it from a different angle in terms of, like the theme was organizational velocity, for example. So, how can you have greater success and innovation through organizational velocity, and specifically through the three brains? So, I'm an ideator, for example. So the concept of the three brains, I was drawn to that. I almost think of it as like you having your own. Are you familiar with mastermind groups, for example? It's
Yes,
like groups of, okay. So it's like you have your own mastermind within yourself because you have neurons in your brain, your cranial brain, your heart, and your gut. There's actually been science done, it's been proven. Excuse me, like gut feeling and the heart knows, they come,
exactly.
actually there's truth to that. So I was curious and I wanted to explore it more through a workshop. So I gave the workshop that I wanted to attend myself. So that's part of my why I did the workshop.
That's curious. You wanted to understand something for yourself, so you built a workshop around it. Gee, Mark, you could have just read a couple of books and called it a day. But that was fascinating. So was that a new workshop, or is that something that you pieced together because you use parts of this theory in your other work?
It's a great question. I'm also a mental fitness coach, and there are some parallels in terms of thinking of negative thinking or saboteurs and positive thinking. And but this was a new presentation. Not, it's a new presentation on a relatively old concept. I'll put it that way. So the way that I presented it, the interactions, the energy, the humor, all that was, new in terms of it being a first time workshop.
Well, great. I think I'm going to shift a little bit. So were you satisfied with how it came out?
I think so. It seems like people were really engaged with the exercises. I was a little slightly skeptical, but then I connected with my own heart, gut, and cranial brain,
How
and
about
they
that?
told me on different levels as a coach and as a professional and a human being, this seems to be working. People are responding, people are connecting. The energy in the room was a little bit electric, and by the end of the session, people were still taking notes furiously. That's always a good sign. And most people, I think everyone might have actually stayed, all the whole group that was there. So
Yeah. And you get invited to a podcast, so it must have went well, right? Yeah, it
yes,
did. So
thank
so
you.
good. And did you get formal evaluations um for folks to fill out?
I believe that there was evaluation that was filled out, and I was told that there was good feedback, but I'm still waiting to get like official feedback about specifics. But I've heard that it was positive feedback from the
Gotcha.
evaluations. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that it would be other than that. Friends, I do want to share with you one other unique thing that I witnessed and that I appreciated during Mark's presentation. Right at the beginning of the presentation, he made a statement which is tantamount to a disclaimer almost, and that's the fact that Mark used detailed handwritten notes on index cards, right? And he says to the crowd, just right away, I use these things, right? This is what I do. I don't know how some of you feel about, people like us using cards, but this is what I do. So I just want to put it out there right now. And I just so appreciated the fact that you did that. And I don't think it was about expectation leveling or expectation setting, but to just say, here's more about me, right? That this is what I do, knowing that perhaps in the industry, folks frown upon, using this real time paper based notes when you got all these other electronic devices and things that you can do to help you figure out what you're going to say next. You did it the old fashioned way and told people in advance. So tell us about that particular approach to your work.
I appreciate the question and the fact that you got value from that. I would just say, excuse me, that uh, I had a coach mentor that taught me that if you name something that's weighing you down, you become free of it. So that's one of the reasons why I did that, because I was kind of concerned that I might be judged, but I hadn't done a group conference like that in a long time. So I felt that because I really wanted to deliver value, and I said that, I said I want to make sure I want to deliver value, and that's more important than me taking a moment to look at the index cards. So I named it, and I became free of it, and the group seemed like they were. I saw a lot of heads nodding because I think there were a lot of coaches, and they understood the concept of naming and freeing. So
Okay, sure. So if I'm to understand this, that was a unique opportunity for that particular session that day in front of us. But do you do that in your other workshops, your other courses as well?
Um, I do sometimes. It depends on whether it's virtual or it's in person. A good number of my workshops are virtual, and sometimes the equivalent of that will be to have. I have a second monitor right above me, and I can glance up and look at some of my notes. But I have been using index cards sometimes. If it's in person, I actually did another workshop on mental fitness, and I had index cards for that one as well. And that was at an art expo and that involved like interacting with a wheel on the ground, like the perspectives wheel and things like that. I definitely had cards for that one as well. So I do like using index cards and just like shorthanding data on it. So
Right, right. You ever mix them up? You ever drop them just before a presentation and then have to
I
get them
have done
back in
that.
order?
Yes. Yes, and actually the one I did on the wellness workshop, I lost my place near the end, and then I just because I knew the content pretty well, I just ran with it, and I felt like the gift and opportunity of that was that I was interacting with the audience more, and I think that the energy kind of ramped up. So that's like okay, I should maybe memorize some of this, but memorize the essence and express the essence versus the verbiage from the cards, and that's something that I continue to try and perfect. So.
Indeed. Yeah, friends, I appreciated the intentionality behind both the statement and then the act and participating in following along, right? And keeping up, being very intentional about keeping up. Mark, I also noticed that in your presentation, like what you had displayed like on the screen wasn't a whole lot, right? Not a whole lot of words, just some images, some illustrations, maybe a couple of points. Is that a part also of how you like to deliver content?
It is. I kind of took a page from Steve Jobs because he was more about impact and the message and the energy and the passion of what you're saying. I wanted to direct, the attention more to the spirit and the content and the interactivity of the exercises. I was trying to move the workshop along and not have a lot of bullet points. Death by PowerPoint, I think, is something that's some people call it. So yeah, I think that's well, I don't think it was intentional. Just to have an idea, because I think a picture can be worth 1,000 words, especially if you're trying to make impact and you just augment it with your words and your energy.
Indeed. And that's exactly what happened. All right. I feel better. And I just wanted to understand a few of those things and give the audience, our friends
Yeah.
out here, just an opportunity to kind of get in their mind what it may look like as we get into your three brain conversation. So, Mark, if you don't mind, if you can just take us through the idea as you started to, and then the exercise that you did, because that was powerful.
Sure. So I did a kind of a level set. I mean, just kind of high level. I'm not. I don't know how much detail you want me to go into, but I'll try and keep it high level. I don't want to tangent too much.
Yeah, we got
Um,
time.
okay. So no, just basically the presentation, the way I structured, introduction and just kind of asked the question about, have you heard of the three brains concept? And then, a few people, I think one gentleman had, and I invited him to kind of describe it. Then I added on to that, to what he had said. So I tried to keep things interactive, group conversation, popcorn style, meaning that people have chances to kind of contribute. Then I sprinkled in a few data points about the heart, the cranial brain, and then the gut at each pulse point. Um, I had each of you, as you remember, partner with someone, and I had, for example, for the first one we did the gut, I believe, and
Yes.
I had one. Let's just call them partner A and B. Partner A, I had them talk about something of importance. And let me back up for a second. I actually wrote down some important or challenging things in people's lives, personally and professionally.
Yeah.
Fast forward back to the gut. Then I had partner A talk about one of those items or something important to them for a minute. Partner B would listen. Then they would respond back with their hand on their gut saying, what my gut wants to share with you is, and that was one way to have people really intentionally tap into that gut brain. Because I don't know if you or your listeners know this, but there's over 500 million neurons in our gut, the equivalent of a cat's brain
Cat's brain.
capacity.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
so it's
I am aware of that fact, but I never incorporated it into my own thinking and
hmm,
my own processes. Uh, Despite the fact that I know my gut is telling me something, I kind of ignore it, right? And go up here
yeah,
as opposed to pay attention to here. So that particular exercise where you're forced to isolate whatever it is you're about to say, you're processing it from that content that you're experiencing down here. So the fact that the gut actually has all of these neurons that are similar to those in the mind does suggest, or in the brain, does suggest that there is a gut brain that we could pay attention to. And the responses, they were palatable. You could hear the buzz in the room. People were talking, people were sharing. It was exciting. And in my encounters, right, as a participant in the class, as a consumer at this point of learning services, I felt that I was learning something, I was gaining something, I was developing an appreciation for this concept, as was my partner. So that was really good. So then tell us about like the next exercise. What happens after that?
sure. After that, then the partners switch places and partners, and we moved on to the heart. And interesting fun fact, the heart is considered the little brain. That's newer research. And the heart actually has the capability for memories and learning. So there's been some proven fact around that. And I can provide information about that. Dr. Andrew Amore was a pioneer in heart research, and he's the one that found out that it actually has its own memories and can sense and feel information. So it's pretty powerful stuff. So,
Wow. So Dr.
yeah,
Amore.
Dr. Amore
So
or
Dr.
Armour,
Love,
like
right?
yeah, maybe I'm mispronouncing it, Armour. But yeah,
Oh,
maybe
armor.
there's
Yeah.
some Armour, yeah,
That
just
that
like
that, that would be ironic if it was Dr. Amore, right? The doctor of love talking about the heart. That is fascinating. I was not aware that the heart has this ability to remember, to learn. Um, so,
according to his
so
research.
yeah. So the ideal of the broken heart isn't just metaphorical. physiological. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I would say so. I think a lot of legends or concepts have a base in truth, to a certain extent. So I'd say that, some of those catchphrases, metaphors, aspiring, things that people say, are maybe based on actual research or just from trial and error as a human being. But yeah, there's something there worth exploring and understanding. Um,
Exactly. Yeah, so that portion of the exercise, go ahead and share with us, like, your direction, what we were supposed to pay attention to, walk us through
so,
that.
similar to the gut exercise, I had folks, in this time partner B, just talk about something that was challenging to them, something that was really hard, maybe to deal with emotionally, because a big part of the heart is emotions, empathy. Um, and then, so the partner B would talk for a minute, partner A would listen, and then put their hand on the heart and respond back. What my heart wants to share with you is, and what I noticed was, and you might have noticed this too, is that there was a lot of empathetic, connective conversations. I think there was some emotional moments. The air almost felt heavy with them, not in a
Yeah.
bad way, but in a way that it was like um, just full
Yes.
of something special.
Yeah,
So,
there was a shift in the energy. I noticed my partner and I, we like moved closer together, right? We scooted our chairs so that we could be closer together during that part of the exercise. Uh, and while the room was still buzzing, that hum was audibly lessened. It wasn't as loud, but still as intense. So I think people were connecting at a deeper level. It was powerful. Well, what have people shared with you about the outcomes of like just those two sessions, the gut session and the heart session?
well, what I've mostly heard is that they share things they weren't expecting to share. Because I think, and that's true as when you're a coach, I think that you hear and you're empathetic, you're intuitive, you're listening. Some people actually, had people say that to me. I'm sure a lot of other coaches where I wasn't expecting to say this, even if they're just out on the street or at a restaurant. They're just talking and they don't know you that well. It's like, I'm surprised I share that with you. So at the workshop itself, overheard one or two people say, I wasn't expecting to share that, or I wasn't expecting to share that with Sally. So that was like an opening, a vulnerability that was very beautiful to see. So an
Yes,
experience.
yeah, cool word. Yeah, beautiful. It was nice. And it was a nice day too. It was just all
Yeah.
around a really good day. Uh, I'm sorry the folks that were in the other track missed your session. We need a redo to get them in there. All right, so we did go through this portion of the workshop where we were expressing from the heart, and then you shared some other things before you put us in that last work exercise around the brain. So share with us, how you led us to that exercise, and again, the instruction you gave us and what the outcome was like.
And so after we talked about the heart and the gut, I think I had an interlude where I just asked how many of you could be more heart based or gut based in your decision making or your interactions with others, and what might that look like if you were? Then we had a group discussion. We actually had some extra time. I thought that I might run over, but actually we had some extra time, so I ended up having more unexpected group discussions before we jumped into the cranial brain. But when we got there, I think people were kind of really ready to go for the next part. So I had people move again. We went back to partner A, talking for a minute. When partner B responded back, they put their hand on their head and they said, what my thinking brain wants to share with you or analyze for you is, and then they just they chatted. And I think one person said that they were definitely more clear and more connected when they used either the gut or the heart when they were providing feedback, which was interesting. I mean, it makes sense based on the concepts we're discussing, but I thought that was interesting because I think a lot of us are used to using just our thinking brain in the interest of um, clarity and quickness because our society today moves so quickly, but
Indeed.
I think sometimes we forget about the mastermind again within us that can provide so much value to ourselves and to others.
Yes, thanks. I don't want to miss that. So like the combination of the thinking brain, the heart, and the gut as a team forms this mastermind committee that we need to pay
Yeah.
attention to. So in your explanations, Mark, you did mention a couple of times decision making. Decision making. Tell us about the relationship between using the mastermind, right? The three components, and how that impacts decision making, supports decision making, etc.
Um, well, I think that well, like when you're trying to make a decision as a leader or as a individual contributor, for example, or even with your partner, the heart is about emotional processing. Um, the thinking brain is about cognition, meaning making, things like that. And the gut is about intuition. So I think that, when we have an intuitive hit, whether we're a coach or just we're talking with a partner or we're maybe even in danger, we should listen to our gut and remember that we do have all these neurons and we have the second brain. I mean, literally, it is the size again of a cat's capacity. So, maybe just pause for a moment and just kind of be in your body, be in your body and really tap into maybe what your gut is trying to tell you. Is your heart trying to tell you something that, what are your emotions trying to tell you? Um, there's an exercise in positive intelligence that's kind of similar that talks about envisioning the child, visualize the child. So visioning yourself or someone else as a young child, the curiosity, the innovation. So maybe you're trying to make a decision or find a way to interact with people, someone you love, your child. How can you, because your words can make a big difference. So maybe tap into that heart brain and then the gut brain. The gut brain is instinct. It's like, should I say this to my child or should I present it in this way? I do that with my son, maybe not as often as I could, especially when we're busy or it's been a long day.
Yeah,
But I think it's important to have the pause. I think the pause in our lives gives us a moment to really tap in, get into our bodies, tap into those three brains, try and get them in alignment and figure out a more empowered, fulfilling, authentic response when you're dealing with someone. At least that's my thought on that.
yeah.
Um, I also think that if I may add one more thing about that, I have a gratitude practice I do every day in the mornings. I think about 10 things I'm grateful for from the day before, people and experiences. Like you'll be on that list probably tomorrow morning.
Oh,
um,
oh, thank you. Thanks, Mark.
um, but I guess my point about that is it's a great level setter for the day. And I think that's one thing I believe anyway, without empirical evidence from science studies that helps get us in alignment, the heart, the gut, and the cranial brain.
Yeah, I can tell you, I was in a conversation with Wayne Dawson just a couple of days ago. He and his wife practice gratitude first thing in the morning when they wake up. They hold hands and like instead of praying, not saying that they don't pray, I don't know, but they do go through this. Here's what I'm grateful for before they actually get out of bed. I thought that was so cool. So, like you said, science or not, there are people that acknowledge uh, the gift of having gratitude and to start out that way first thing in the morning. So that's really cool. Mark, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do get the sense that you had asked us questions about like which one of the three brains are we more inclined, to pay attention to. I'm
Yes.
wondering from your perspective, is there like a picking order, or is it contextually driven? Like how does one take advantage of the fact that we have this mastermind?
I think each person is different. There's a lot of tests out there like Myers-Briggs DISC, Strength Finder, that can
Sure.
assess where you are in terms of what your go-to is. Are you a thinker or do you, more of a
Right.
healer emotion person?
Exactly.
So, um, I think the pecking order, that's a great question. Um, I, I mean, generally speaking, I would say if you can tap into the heart or the gut first before you go right to the thinking. I think that helps with conversations. I mean, consider books that kind of supplement that, like nonviolent communication, um, um, leadership and self-deception, above the line, below the line. There's all these
Right.
different resources you can tap into. So I think so. I guess my short answer is I would get curious and maybe find ways of getting relaxed and balanced through journaling, the gratitude practice, going for a walk in nature and feeling your feet as you walk, really use your five senses, and then see if you can get in alignment with those three, and then see which flavor of brain comes up that seems like it resonates with you the most. But my encouragement would be to folks to give it a try. Just try with something small and then grow from there. Try using your gut. Put your hand on your gut. Put your hand on your heart. And try and
Mm,
make a decision and see, really intentionally try and make a decision using one of the other brains and see what happens, what gifts might come up. So,
gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody puts their hand on their head, right? When they're thinking about something,
yeah,
right?
just, yeah.
They do like that. That is the I think pose, right? Most people associate the hand on the heart with the Pledge of Allegiance as opposed to what am I thinking or what am I
Yes.
feeling, right? So that's powerful, friends. I challenge you. In fact, I'm going to put it out there after this. I'm going to challenge you to try to do that. Mark, do you have a pecking order, or are you fluid?
I think that's a fantastic question. I tend to think a lot, probably too much. I'm a processor, so I've tried to remember that and make that cycle shorter. But I think it depends. I think it depends on the circumstances. That might be true for a lot of people. When I'm dealing with my son, I try and stay in the heart, but the head kind of activates. I think when I'm dealing with family members, I try and stay in the heart, a little bit of gut. And when I'm in work situations, especially in coaching, I try and do gut and heart. And then I think that's more of a flow thing. I think with work, it's more of a flow depending on the work. Some of it can be a little bit technical, and I'd say majority of that's more the cranial brain. But the coaching and the training more is like it's fluid between the three, and that's what makes it a beautiful thing. You access left and right side brain of your cranial brain, then it's like a T. Think of it as like a T. Right brain, left brain, and then up and down, gut,
Right,
heart,
right,
brain.
right. Yeah.
So
How about that, friends? It was a really interesting workshop, fascinating. I've kept it in the forefront of my thinking brain to pay more attention to my gut and my heart. And in fact, being familiar with various ideas about having difficult conversations and those types of things, um, like crucial conversations, that spiral path, and how you identify with that. I've always been aware of that. But now it's just another tool, for me to use to have access to make better decisions. And just recently, I had an opportunity to respond here or respond here or respond here. Uh, and the decision that I made was to actually not respond because my heart was telling me, just listen, right? Nothing else I needed
right.
to do. Uh, Whereas my gut actually got like, oh yeah. And my brain was going through, well, let me provide points of fact and detail and data. But my
Yeah.
heart said, don't do anything. And I didn't. And I think that was helpful overall. And I don't think,
Mm.
Mark, I would have come to that conclusion had it not been for my experience in your workshop. So I just
Oh,
want to thank you for that tool I was able to apply in real time. And friends, suggesting that if you haven't practiced something like that, maybe you do that. So thanks for sharing that Mark. It was really cool, really great workshop. Really appreciated it. Um, we also are aware that you are a coach, um, and you're one of the ICF accredited coaches.
that's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. What's your level? Talk to us a little bit about that. I know there are a lot of coaches on the call, but maybe not. But just share a little bit about that journey, earning that credential.
Oh, sure. I actually have a couple credentials. The so I was doing training. I've done training for about 22 years, and I noticed I really enjoyed doing a deep dive on a specific topic and focusing on one or two people. I still love facilitating groups, but the deep dive with one or two people and adding value to that one person, really caring about that person and trying to add value for that person, help them feel seen and heard. Um, I think that that's something that really gave me a tell that coaching was something I should explore. And I had a mentor that really kind of encouraged me to keep doing it through CBODN, the group that did the workshop. She kept every 3 years. She said you should take the fundamentals course. You should take the fundamentals course. So eventually, my gut told me, yes, I should. I should do this. Even though my thinking brain said, well, I don't know if I have time for this. So anyway, I took the
Mm,
fundamentals course through Proactive Training Institute. Ended up taking the whole curriculum, then got certified. Then I went through ICF and got, it's called the ACC Associate Coaching Certificate. I'm working through my PCC, Professional Coaching Certification. I believe that's the acronym. And then I also got certified in a third modality because I was inspired from the momentum from that called positive intelligence. So there's a certification through that. So I went through that program. That's all about mental fitness and recognizing saboteurs. And there's some parallels with the three brains there in terms of keeping them healthy and in a sage state, it's called. Because I think that when you take care of your three brains, curiosity, innovation, playfulness, empathy start to come out more. And again, like the stars aligned, your mastermind becomes aligned. It becomes a force multiplier with how you interact with the world. Your inner life informs your outer life. So,
I hope y'all were paying attention. I'm glad this is recorded. I can go back and listen to this again. Uh, Very interesting. So, Mark, say a little bit more about like the wellness portion of your practice. Um, I can almost sense the difference in your own tone when you start talking about wellness as opposed to something else.
well,
Share more about that.
well, I think, yeah, and I think I kind of a connector with that is the fact of my why about why I do this work, and it's mainly because I think at some point everybody goes through something called the wounding, and the wounding is where someone says you can't be this way, or I don't like the way that you said that is not okay, or a lot of society. I think the phrase now is cancel culture. You're
Right.
canceled. So help me is helping to unravel that because that's something that I experienced originally from other people growing up and then from myself because those voices stay and they help you survive, but eventually they're just like your appendix. They don't need to be there anymore. Um, so, um, so with the coaching, the wellness piece of it, that's one of the reasons why I went for mental fitness, similar to the workshop that I did. I needed to have the positive intelligence mental fitness piece myself. So it inspired me to help people with, you have physical fitness. I actually do a workshop with a colleague who does the physical fitness part, and I do the mental fitness. And we talk about perspectives. We talk about mental fitness, about how to limit the negative thoughts, disrupt the negative thoughts, being able to use mini meditations called PQ reps, and then thinking of a more empowerment, establishing a more empowerment mindset and thinking that every situation is like a gift and opportunity, which it is.
It is.
Your jerk boss could end up being your black belt trainer. So the gift of an opportunity is that they teach you how to be more resilient. They teach you how to be more patient. They teach you empathy. Maybe you visualize them as a child. So
Mm,
that's a lot of what informs what I do in terms of this and helping people step into their power, get unstuck, help them remove limiting beliefs, and help them have a compelling future and be able to access it. I'm not helping you create a new you. I'm helping you rediscover the you that's always been there, but maybe it's covered from layers of garbage from things that people have said or the way they've treated you. So it's
yeah.
not psychology, but it's empowerment through coaching.
Empowerment through coaching. I really like the line. It's like a appendix. You don't need it. You can get rid of it.
Yes, exactly.
I tell you, friends, I get so many of these gems on these sessions that's another gem I'm going to figure out a way to use. So, Mark, in keeping with the ideal of this conversation, I learned, therefore I can. What is that thing from your life, right? Not necessarily associated with your profession, but just in your life overall, that thing that you were very intentional about learning so that you could go do something else, right? What did you learn, therefore you could?
Yeah, so I would say that I mean I know we talked about like well professionally I just feel that I needed some sort of tool and community to help me break out of my mindset, to break out of the way I was thinking, the way I was being. because in coaching there's a lot of like being and doing. It's like the way you be informs what you do in the world. So I think that I was stuck, and we all get stuck. We get into the spiral, and then we find ways of breaking out of it. So I was looking for, kind of like a philosophy. I was looking for a community. I was looking for empathy and self-empowerment, or empowerment, so I could obtain and then hold on to self-empowerment to become a better version of me. When I say better, I don't mean based on what other people think. It's more of like I compete. I compete with myself, not with other people. I compete with where I am now and where I am 10 years from now. So I learned that by accepting myself as I am and putting myself out there in presentations, I'm an introvert, but it was important for me to learn how to do this because I have something to say. I learned that because I have something to say, I need to find a way to express it. And originally it was through the arts, writing, dancing, etc. And now it's through helping others. And I gain more myself from being of service to others. So I learned that just showing up in the world and being intentional can have a huge impact on others, but it definitely has an impact on me.
Wow. I'm just gonna let that sit in for a second, two, three. That was powerful, man. Thanks for sharing that. Uh,
Thank you.
Comprehensive, deep, focused on self in support of others. Right. I learned to be more of myself and accept myself because I have something to say. Therefore, I can go serve that. Uh, I can go do that thing and serve others. Really powerful. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So what's
Thank you.
next for you, man? What else are you going to be doing?
Well, I hope to do some more speaking gigs. I'm hoping to speak at a conference in next year and maybe in the fall. So trying to do more speaking events. Trying to do one-on-one coaching cohorts. They're about 6-week cohorts around mental fitness, training. Trying to do more workshops, pop-up calls, things like that. So
Yeah,
that's mostly what's the plan is for the next several months to going forward. So,
gotcha. Any plans to put the pen to paper and write something?
and, well, by 2028, I do have a goal, and this is part of the gratitude practice. Every morning I say by 2028, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to be doing a TEDx talk, and I'll be writing or creating training for the youth, inspired by and for my son. So those are three main goals by 2028. Maybe a summer camp, I don't know. But writing wise, I mean, that's not great. Speaking of writing, that's not the best grammar. But I do write and put out a newsletter. My goal is to do it once a week going forward, and it's called Minding the Gap. So I'd like to continue to do that and write occasional other blogs and so forth. So.
All right, great. So how do folks get in touch with you, and how do you want them to find you?
Well, sure. Thank you for asking. I'd say mainly on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And then if folks want to join my email list, I do put out, like I said, a newsletter. It's all about, something about the human condition. Sometimes it's about three brain stuff. Sometimes it's about the light and dark stuff within us that we need to embrace. But if people wanted to do that, I also do pop-up workshops. They're free typically. That's a great way. So if you want to contact me, prismofpurpose@gmail.com. And then feel free to follow me on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, and we'll connect. We'll love to have a conversation with your listeners, whether it's through a venue like this or just through social media.
Yeah, yeah. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's learn more from each other. Friends, follow your gut. Pay attention to your heart. Right. Make that great decision to follow up with Mark and others. Just to be in the conversation. Be very intentional about learning and supporting others and their ability to learn, so that we all can be better at what it is we've been asked to do. So, Mark, one last thing, man. What is it that you want to share with folks that we haven't necessarily talked about, or I didn't get a chance to ask you? Or if you could ask and answer your own question, what would the question be and what would the answer be? Your choice. Tell us something you just want us to know because we didn't get around to it, or ask and answer your own question,
I
or both.
appreciate that question. I would say, no matter how challenging things are, there's always hope. There's always someone there that can support you, whether it's a coach, a friend, a family member. Reach out to community, join a meetup, a support group. Um, Connect with someone. You're not alone, because I think this journey can be lonely, whether you're an aspiring coach or professional, whatever you do. So I think you need to remember that there's support is out there, and it comes in many forms, and it's comes from grace and self acceptance, and just be ready to accept the gift because it's waiting for you.
Excellent. Excellent. So any thoughts on a question you would ask and answer of yourself?
Oh, it's a great question. I would say, what's next is one question, and the answer would be open for what's possible, because you don't know, but there's enough there to have impact. So it's going to be a wild ride. Hang on.
Sounds like fun to me, friends. So, friends, I hope you can appreciate why I'm so enamored by Mark. Just a unique individual, very thoughtful, certainly living his purpose, helping others be better at what it is they've been asked to do, just right in line with how I think and how I feel, with a unique approach to sharing information and knowledge and working people through understanding. You all would be fortunate to participate in that brand new workshop that he did because he wanted to understand how it worked. It came out very well. Mark, thanks so much for your time, man. I appreciate you. Looking forward to other conversations we can have together. Would that be okay?
That'd be great, Lonnie. I look forward to it. Yeah, this was great. I really enjoyed it.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mark. Be well.
And thank you. You too. Bye bye.
That concludes this episode of I Learn, Therefore I Can, an iRise Consulting Performance podcast. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling better about being better at what I was asked to do. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. And thanks for learning. Because learning matters and performance counts. Be well.